Hello, friends. Welcome back to Saturday Evenings Posted Mostly with me, your host, Trevor Stewart, 1308. And we are here today with the ASOC Prod Cat and the Peanut Gallery. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Yes.
All right. We will be watching the final portion of the Deja Sade video, the
Such
monetized.
wonderful optimism.
We made it further. We did make it further.
Sorry.
If I don't, if the show doesn't get interrupted, we'll be finishing that. The video by Deja Sade, the monetization of everything, or the privatization of everything. Kush Gang, good to see you in the audience. Good to see you in the chat. Much love, and of course we are here with breakfast with the Kush Gang. That we will be eating shortly. We'll also be covering a couple of news stories. A couple of news stories here and there. But first, the Kush Gang, breakfast with the Kush Gang, their products can be found at Frosty Fridays and the Canna Market on Saturdays. Frosty Fridays at the Hidden Leaf. The Canna Market Saturdays at the Grow Depot on River Road. The Hidden Leaf, who also will be providing our pre-rolls for the day, 105 West Main Street on the downtown mall, above the brick, Suite 200. A great place to go with some great buds to get some great buds. Bud? The only thing better than their bud is their customer service, and they have the lowest prices in town, according to my own personally highly biased research. By which I mean I was incredibly high when I did my biased research. And that also only applies to their standard running or standard business hours. There are better deals. There are many insanely good deals. I don't know that I will say better. Although, Kush Gang, the flower from the Kush Gang is always on point and an incredible deal. So, you know. But yeah, don't forget to check the website for times and events. The website is thehiddenleafcville.com. That's thehiddenleafcville.com. All one word. And Frosty Fridays, like I said, is where you can find the Kush Gang, purveyors of exceptionally fine edibles and drinkables. We are having breakfast with here today, and we're gonna start breakfast with the white chocolate and fruity pebble rocket bar. I guess it's the same strength as the rocket bar, 1,000 milligrams. I don't know that we can call it exactly a rocket bar, but boy, is it gonna be a rocket. Okay, so the Fruity Pebbles really come through. Like the fruit in the Fruity Pebbles pops through because the white chocolate, is very subtle. I don't know why I'm bothering to break it. I'm gonna eat the whole bar. as insanely chocolatey as the milk chocolate bars are, these are pretty subtle. They're not. It makes it a bit easier to eat the whole bar, which may or may not be good for most people. It. When I think about it, it may be good that there is that the richness of the milk chocolate bar slows you down a little bit, because you're really not supposed to eat these sorts of things like I do. Of course, don't try this at home, kids and adults. This is more than most people will ever need in a week, I'd say. Now, this brings me to the first thing I wanted to talk about, which is this political sign. These guys are running for mayor. And they're running in the mayoral, I think, or city council. They're running for city council. And this political sign is in the window of the space that the hidden leaf will be expanding into. And this sign was put up by the Hidden Leaf staff on purpose. So, this is a political opinion that our sponsor is expressing. And I asked why, and it's because these people are supporting our sponsor. These people are some of the people who are making it possible for us to have this resource and revenue stream in the community. Now, if we had journalistic integrity, we dig into the background on these guys, just to make sure they're on the up and up. That's an if. That's a really big if we have journalistic integrity. I personally am more inclined to say these guys are supporting the people that I'm supporting, so it's quite possible that I should be supporting these guys along with the people who I'm supporting them.
From the ASOC prod, there has not been enough tea or caffeine yet to have enough curiosity to go down rabbit holes. So supporting them because they support others is perfectly fine with me.
It's too early in the morning to put on our critical thinking hats for this. Yeah.
You almost jumped on the you know that they know rabbit hole.
No, we're not going down that one either.
What do you get when you pour boiling water down a rabbit hole?
Berry tea.
Hot cross bunnies. Rabbit stew.
It's only rabbit stew if we throw some potatoes in there.
Good answer, Kush Gang. Good answer. Whew. That one went quick. That chocolate bar was good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So yeah, I wanted to touch on these guys, Wade and Pinkston. We may actually do our due diligence at some point and look into these guys. But right now, they're supporting allowing people like me to exist. And by that I mean stoners. I can't imagine they have a problem with trans, queer, all of the other things that I fall into. But moving on from that, some of the other stuff in the news right now. I know I talked with Kush Gang briefly yesterday about Harvard and the injunction, the temporary injunction that was placed on the presidential order for Harvard to stop it being able to admit foreign students because they wouldn't turn over video, audio, and written proof of students who have been protesting the genocide in Gaza. And I haven't heard much of it since then. So, and I don't think much has happened since then.
Mm-mm.
But that's where it was last left.
Yeah.
Now, I'm incredibly proud of Harvard for standing up for the independence of education, especially because they're a private. Oh, president wants to revoke their nonprofit status too.
Yeah.
And I respect Harvard for standing up for education in this moment. You know, their motto is Veritas, truth,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's good that they're standing up for that. They over the past couple of decades, the number of foreign students, the percentage of foreign students has skyrocketed from somewhere around in the upper teens to, just under 20% to, I think the last number I heard was some 64% of their student body.
Mm-hmm.
Most of their student body are not from the U.S. So if the president were able to do this, it would really damage the university. And it really bothers me that the president is taking aim at education, at universities. I feel like it's, we're seeing him use bully tactics on judges who give rulings against him. We see him using bully tactics on foreign born students who are still naturalized citizens of the United States, who vocally oppose him. We've seen him using these tactics on the press, and they're getting more and more intense. How long before even tiny little independent entertainers like ourselves get targeted?
Not long, honestly. The way this has been escalating.
How long before they're using AI to identify us?
They already are trying.
Right.
I saw what was supposed to be a satire piece about Treelon using whatever the AI is that they've got on Twitter, but using an unofficial version to try to scrape through Department of Homeland Security files to look for stuff. It was satire, but
it's happening.
It's honestly something I could see him doing.
I don't think it's actually satire. I think they're just saying it's satire so that AI doesn't pick up on it. Just like this is all satire.
Yes.
Everything we're doing here is political satire. I swear.
We have a whole bunch of very unhappy wheels.
Mm-hmm.
Sad tire.
Yes.
Sad tires.
Yes.
Here we go. Here's a headline. A U.S. judge on Friday blocked Trump administration from revoking Harvard University's ability to enroll foreign students, a move that ratcheted up White House efforts to conform practices in academia to President Donald Trump's policies.
Yes.
From Ground News.
Yep.
So that's a good thing. Another bit of good news. I don't know if we discussed this earlier or not. Or if I discussed this here or not. While the Supreme Court did telegraph its judgment as to whether or not Trump will be allowed to fire department heads, government department heads, and the decision that they've telegraphed is yes, he can do pretty much whatever he wants, with the exception of the Fed. The Fed, the economy, is still being kept independent, which is very important.
Especially considering his track record with business.
Right. And so what I want to say is I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. But the yield on the 20 and 30-year bond is very high right now. Very, very high right now, because most people don't trust that in the next 10 to 20 years, our economy is going to be doing all that well. I think that the Supreme Court's recent decision to leave the Fed alone, let the Fed be independent, says the exact opposite. I think that buying 20 or 30-year bonds right now might be a good, sound financial investment. I believe that in the next 5 or 10 years, the U.S. economy is going to look like crap. But in the next 15 to 20 to 25 years, as long as we maintain separation between the executive branch and the Federal Reserve, I believe that in 20 to 30 years, and in that 40 up to that 40-year mark, our economy will be stable and able to pay off those bonds. I am not an economist. I am not a financial advisor. So take this advice with a grain of salt. I do believe, though, that we as a nation will be able to get through this. That is what I am saying with that speech about the 20 and 30-year bond. I think that we are capable. Oh, that's chocolate iced. Oh, boy. Oh, I'm excited now. Products like this give me hope for great American ingenuity. Proof that our nation is strong. See, I'm not always like super depressed and downbeat. Nothing. Are you guys still with me?
Yeah.
So that was really just nothing. Strong arm emoji. Okay. That's what's going on over there.
Yeah.
Well-timed flatulence. There was well-timed flatulence, and it was funny.
You rang.
You know, if
I
that's
will.
what you're
I
choosing to
will.
name, to choosing your nickname to be, that's fine. But like, just so you know, I'm not the one who's giving you the nickname Well-Timed Flatulence. That just happened to be what you walked into.
You.
I think we need to clear the air here.
Open a window, dude. Light a candle.
Nope. Nope. That last one might be dangerous.
I'd like to point out that we don't do dick and fart jokes here. We do penis and flatulence jokes.
Fair enough.
The fecal matter, you say?
Ew.
I mean, look, at least it hasn't hit the rotary air impeller yet, so we're doing okay. That is a pretty blue for that drink.
Uh-huh. It's blue raspberry lemonade.
You know, if you put some of the edible glitter in there, it'd look like a mana potion for, like, every video game ever.
As it is, it's about the color of washer fluid.
Well, I will say, you know,
It does. It washes the inside.
you drink enough of them, man, you'll get magic powers. Get the magic power to be really, really high.
The power to deny reality. Unfortunately, it does not include the power to impose your own.
Right. In power of levitation, it gets you really high.
Yeah, so does a plate of beans.
And we're right back again.
That's propulsion. This is levitation. There's a difference. Also looks like Slurp from Fortnite. Oh, I like that.
What from what?
Slurp from Fortnite.
Okay, still does not clear it up.
Fortnite. Fork knife. Fort life.
So a drink 2 weeks ago?
So a drink from 2 weeks ago.
A drink in the video game Fortnite. Looked like a video game drink. Whew. That was an intense breakfast, friends.
No, you're in a house.
It's a kind of a hippie house, so we might be able to say it's tense. I need this now. I need to smoke after that. Oh, that breakfast was good.
Sorry to stress you out.
What? No.
Sorry to stress you out so much you need to smoke.
No. This is this is the other kind of need a smoke. It's not stress, it's pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
Pleasure. The 2 times when cigarette smokers need cigarettes the 3 times when cigarette smokers need cigarettes is during stress, while waiting, or after pleasure. Slurp gives you shield. Okay. I only see the game played. I only see them drink it. I never know what's actually going on because they're always talking about other stuff.
Ages ago, when it first came out, I was half interested because it had a single-player mode
Oh,
and a
Fortnite?
story. Yes. Obviously, it doesn't anymore.
Yeah, I don't know about single player mode, but there might still be some sort of story involved somewhere deep down inside. But no, it became just the massive online sort of. You know what I like about it is that it's not just combat. There's a lot of other stuff that goes on in the game. It feels like it's half Minecraft, half Roblox, half Call of Duty.
I think you want to take that middle one out.
Roblox?
Yeah, I don't think Fortnite has anything to do with Subway.
You're gonna have to elaborate.
Jared from Subway.
Huh?
Jared from
Oh,
Subway.
you're talking about people who download PDF.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at the moment, but any massive online, I mean, I'm sure they might have better safeguards in place. Roblox really did not have safeguards in place. But I meant more like, it seems like there's a lot of other stuff other than just build and shoot that you can do.
Mm.
You know, there seems to be, and it seems to be that players are developing stuff to do in game that has nothing to do with anything the designers really had in mind, which is sort of where I feel like Roblox kind of, but Roblox has a system in place for that, for people to be that creative. I think. Now, I don't know what's actually going on in Fortnite because I don't play it and I don't watch it near as often as I could be. But, you know.
And I'm sorry for making those insinuations, as I do not have any
Proof of anything?
personal proof of anything. No.
I feel like there's been enough press coverage that we can go with, yeah, I think that's happening. Like, it's, you know,
You mean like a certain president that's just been named in a certain other person's trial in New York?
Yeah. Exactly. I feel like there's enough going on that we can say, yeah, that's probably. And again, we're not, you know, we don't exactly. We're not journalists. We're members of the press. We're pundits. We have opinions. We're definitely adding spin. So,
We're not as unbiased as Ground News tries to be.
right. Or NPR for that matter.
No, because we're definitely in favor of both of those and not in favor of certain others.
Right. Exactly.
Very
Exactly.
strongly.
I do feel like this is a good point to mention that all of the political opinions you hear herein are the opinions of those people who express them. Ourselves, the channel, the label, but not necessarily the opinions of our sponsors, because our sponsors are businesses. I'm going to go so far as to say even the opinions that Kingsways expresses in chat may not necessarily be the full opinions of Kush Gang. However, I don't want to speak for Kingsways and Kush Gang in that way. I will say, though, that our opinions are not necessarily shared by any of our sponsors.
Yes. Yes.
Just to make that clear.
Yes. So.
Don't blame them for what we say.
Yeah.
To make
We
it
put the
absolute.
pun in pundit.
Huh?
Yes.
We put the pun in pundit.
It's better put it than putting the indent in pundit.
Moving on to local stuff, but before we get sidetracked too much further,
Keep it rolling.
the two that I wanted to bring up was we have got another measles case that has been reported much closer to home than last time.
Right.
Last one was kind of like out around outer edges of Virginia. This one is specifically in Charlottesville.
Measles in Charlottesville.
Measles in Charlottesville. If you go to the Virginia Health website, you can get the news release that they put out that tells you the different places that this person said they went so that you could track and see if you had any possible exposure. Something that I'm kind of salty about is because of various cuts and the way various things are done. The health departments don't have as many resources to start broadcasting news like this like they used to.
Okay.
So they put out their news release. They put it on their website yesterday afternoon. But they weren't allowed to basically send. Most places aren't allowed to send their press releases out until hours and hours and hours later. So it was live on their website yesterday, but the local news agencies aren't getting it and letting it out until this morning.
Well, that is upsetting.
That is something that's not just local. It is included. It includes the CDC. Their main reporting channels that they had for broadcasting various updates and outbreaks was taken away when Treelon started doing cuts to various organizations. So if you want to be kept up to date on those things, you either have to haunt their website or you have to sign up specifically for someone else's YouTube channel that actually haunts the website and puts it out there.
Well,
So
you want to link us to that website? Should we take a look?
I'm gonna have to find it. I'm gonna have to find it again. I know I threw it up in chat one time before, but so I'm gonna have to find it again. But on the more an entertaining thing, Sweet Potato Hitler was out visiting this way for a golf club dinner thing.
Oh yeah. I had briefly heard about that. Wait, was that the one where was that the dinner that was organized by the meme coin people?
Right.
Or is this a different thing? Is this the meme coin dinner? Or is this a different thing?
At his golf club for the top 220 holders of the meme coin, yep.
This is that.
Alright, so he went to this. Reporters asked about the guest list. Wanting to know who's gonna be at this.
Right.
Because transparency.
And who has access to the president.
Right. And the spokesperson said the president is attending this in his personal time.
Not in his capacity as president.
Right. Which
doesn't make a chip of a difference.
Well,
right.
Someone says, you don't get personal time. It's not a magic suit you can pull on and off thing. To which someone else is pointing out, it's okay. If he's saying he's doing it on his personal time, then obviously that means he's not acting within what the Supreme Court calls the outer perimeter of official responsibility while doing this.
So he is liable for any laws he breaks.
Right. So this currently right this second, this is all contained on Twitter as just, internet argument. But the actual reporter's comments and what his White House spokesperson said, that's now out there, and that's out there for any lawyers that wish to latch onto and use that for their arguments to go right along with, like.
Yep. He has done something that
have been dealing with his attemption to bar them from federal buildings.
Such as the legal team. Or the Eagle team.
Among other, well, they weren't barred. They were just joining in because they saw where it was headed, and so they were like, "Yeah, no, we're writing an affidavit saying this is bad.
We're in with these guys. We're just preemptively just want y'all to know we're in with these guys. We're throwing our hats in with these guys." Yeah, and I gotta say, can't blame them. If I were a law firm, I'd be standing up with them right now. I'd also be signing an affidavit saying I stand up with Harvard right now, if I were a law firm. But we're an entertainment firm, and in that way, we still say we stand up with these guys and with Harvard.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that I've enjoyed constantly seeing with the Harvard situation is not exactly sure how the exchange went down, but the basics of it were, we're barring you from doing this. And Harvard saying, you can't do that. And then the response being, well, good luck in court. And Howard's like, yeah, who's got the most prestigious law school in the country?
Right?
Not only, yeah, like so those were my two things. One definite gripe, and the other, hey, maybe one of his mouthpieces just made things harder for him.
Right. He may have just done some legal damage. Unfortunately, it feels like even making it harder for himself in that way isn't gonna do the kind of legal damage that we need done.
It's not. It really probably isn't, but
Yeah.
you have to approach this person like you are someone that's been hired to clean out a house that hoarders have lived in, because it is that bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
So while the initial estimate looking at the house of stuff that you need to move and you need to sort, and you can't just trash it all,
Right.
because there's things in there that you're supposed to save. You look at this and you go, I need some military grade spot remover for this.
We don't just need palm olive. We need napalm olive.
Right. But you can't use that. So you have to chip away at it. So, on the one hand, no, this isn't going to be the huge legal thing that everybody wants it to be or would like it to be. But
it's a small chink in the armor.
And hey, eventually something's going to work, because Smaug went down with just an arrow to one scale.
Hey. That was
What?
not just an arrow. In every telling of the story, it was a blessed arrow. It was a family heirloom, handed down from generations upon generations, and it was a very special arrow.
Yes.
Heirloom.
There's more to it than it was, but if you are a person watching on the battlefield, it was that
It
one
was still
lucky
just
shot.
like an.
Yeah.
Also, I have to point out that for that to have worked in the original telling of the story, not only did Bilbo Baggins have to have the ability to speak to a thrush, but Bard the guardsman. Also, why call a guardsman Bard?
Because it was probably Bart at one point, and they went, no, we're having too much fun with your name. We're just going to change it to Bard.
No, I think it was a conscious choice on the part of Tolkien.
About Tolkien?
Yeah. There was something there that we aren't fully aware of. But Bard had to be able to understand the thrush as well. So two people had to have the speak with animals spell.
Well, I mean, you just.
Although one of them is a bard.
There. Bard makes sense.
Right?
I mean, we could take it far.
But if he really was a bard, then why didn't he just... You know where this is going.
Oh, because Smaug didn't swing that way. That's why.
Hello. All right, so... Before we get off on this geek tangent...
Yes, because I can make it worse.
Oh, yes, and so can I. I'm sure. Peanut Gallery, did you have any? Oh, do you have anything you wanted to bring up? Any news from this week? Well enough. I do one other thing. So I do realize that I had made a prediction that we might get Swarovski talking about the Pope,
Uh-huh.
and that is not happening. That
Ah.
is obviously not going to happen because George Norm went, passed away this last week.
Yeah.
And he's gone somewhere where everybody knows his name, and they're always glad he came.
Mm-hmm.
And their troubles are all the same. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that, may he be resting on his bar stool in peace.
I know there's another place where they're always glad you came.
Okay, now.
A fertility clinic.
That's what I was afraid you were going for.
Next Saturday, both of us are having breakfast before this thing starts. Neither of us eat. It's like trying to keep a pair of demented weasel ferrets on track.
And I'm the one who's eaten over a gram of THC.
Yeah, he's the one that's trying to keep the weasel ferret cats on track.
Let's remember that the ferret master is high as balls. I mean, let's not pretend that I don't actually get high from all of this THC. I do. I'm able to maintain pretty well, but let's not pretend it doesn't affect me.
Are we talking about on the ladder or what? Because otherwise, it's only about 2 to 3 feet.
Only from your perspective, buddy. For as high as I am, I can see my house from here.
Yeah, but you're high as what?
A Virginia pine. Again, 2 or 3 feet, only from your perspective, buddy. Don't ask what I mean. I don't particularly know. I just know that there's a terrible joke in there somewhere that I don't really want to go for.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're talking about that high, you're talking about something like a cloud giant.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So to get us back on track, folks.
You start the video. I'm going to go get more tea so the video has a chance to start. And taking myself away from this equation for a moment so that everybody has a chance to try to regroup while the video starts.
You think that leaving us alone together is a good way for things to happen? Like, good way for things to productively get done?
I think it's more productive than if I stay here without tea. Also, you need to share your
Oh,
screen.
also, I need to share my screen. Also, I need to turn the audio on for that. Right, go get your tea. We'll figure this out. Do-do-do-do-do-do. That should do it. And your little dog, too.
Well, you don't gotta be a bitch about it.
Stars? That's like me being a corporate type.
I can't believe my AI agent scheduled all my interviews.
Well, why are we doing this?
$1.75. When Dad came to America, that's all he had.
Can you hear it?
Yep.
All right. All right. So we're going to get into this privatization of everything, how America sold itself out. So far, we have looked at things like the American healthcare system, how privatization has led to worse health outcomes and higher costs. Privatization of roads has led to worse driving conditions and higher costs. Privatization of education has led to lower general test scores and higher costs. Are we seeing a pattern, friends?
I don't know. I went to public school. Sorry, couldn't resist that one.
Ow. I mean, yeah, nailed it. Nailed it. But ow.
They don't pay me enough to see a pattern.
They didn't teach me to recognize patterns.
Private control equals no public accountability. Once a public service is privatized, the public loses any say in how it's run. A perfect example of this is Maximus Inc. Yes, that same Maximus that's deep in the school game, they actually got into welfare case management in the 1990s. When they got a taxpayer-funded $15 million contract to run a Connecticut healthcare call center, a local radio station called to ask them how many calls they were handling and what taxpayers were getting for their money. Maximus refused to answer because they claimed that the details were a trade secret. Think about that. You have a company paid with public money that can now hide basic information from the public. In fact, when the public asked for information on what they were funding, this is what they provided. That's how privatization works. The second a corporation takes over a public service, the public loses access to information about it. They use loopholes to
I can
suck
write
up
a
public money
document like
while
that.
dodging public oversight. Transparency not required. Part 6, how to fight back. Reclaiming public power. Privatization is not inevitable, it is a policy choice. And if we know the playbook and we know how it works, we can stop it before it happens. Step 1, recognize the playbook. If politicians start talking about efficiency or choice, it's time to ask who profits. These words are usually code for privatization, and the goal is to make the public think that they're getting something better while quietly selling off public services to private companies. And please don't think this is some far-off idea. President Musk is already putting feelers out. He's testing the waters for the next big privatization pushes, and if they succeed, private companies, not the public, will dictate how air travel and I can't even tell you how many other areas will operate. Step 2, pressure local officials. Privatization rarely begins in DC. It starts in city halls and state legislatures, which means that the real fight is local. It's in your backyard. A lot of the time, these deals are happening without public input, or they play dirty political games. And in New Orleans, a company called Entergy even hired fake protesters to drown out real voices in city council meetings. This ended up swaying the votes in favor of a gas power plant. So the solution to this is to show up anyway, demand transparency, and expose corporate deals. More often than we realize, once people start seeing and understanding what's happening, they fight back. Step 3, support public options. The best way to beat privatization is invest in public options. Free public transit versus toll roads and ride shares. Universal health care versus for-profit insurance. The more we invest in public options, the harder it is for corporations to push privatization. Just start small with those 3 steps to get you clued into what's happening around you and what you have a right to know about as a citizen. But honestly, nothing will happen without a complete mindset shift. The mental shift needed to reclaim the public. If you watched my Tragic Optimist Guide on Surviving Capitalistic Nihilism, you were already pretty well aware that we have been sold a lie, okay?
Would you guys be interested in watching that video?
What was the title for it again? Because it was a bit of a mouthful. Optimist nihilism. What?
Hired fake protesters to drown out real voices in city council meetings. This ended up swaying the votes in favor of a what you have a right to know about as a citizen. But honestly, nothing will happen without a complete mindset shift. The mental shift needed to reclaim the public. If you watched my Tragic Optimist Guide on Surviving Capitalistic Nihilism,
Tragic Optimist Guide to Surviving Capitalist Nihilism. I've watched it. I watched the video already, of course. You realize I couldn't see that video go past in my feed without going, huh, I might need to watch that. But would you guys be interested in going back to watch? And it's a lot of what can we do in the face of these?
I wouldn't mind watching that like a couple weeks from now.
All right. We'll give it a little while before we watch it, but we put it on the list.
I mean, if nothing else, you and I can watch it one night.
And we can do a special presentation.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Sounds good. It's useful. It's useful information. Way more useful information than the Mysterious Cities of Gold Season 1, Volume 2. Although they tried very hard to make it very educational by including what was at the time correct or known to be correct information, a short at the end of every episode that talked about something that came up in the episodes. Although I gotta say, something about the early 80s and cultural sensitivity don't seem to go fully hand in hand. So back to the video.
You were already pretty well aware that we have been sold a lie, okay? That's the reality of the situation. It was good marketing. Dare I say it, one of the best marketing campaigns ever ran. And hey, don't be angry at yourself, it got the best of us. But privatization also gets a huge boost from consumerism.
Roku Ads Manager puts Roku's reach within your reach. Sign up at ads.roku.com.
sales manager.
The market is great at delivering the goods we don't need. New phones, fast food, instant gratification. But we made the mistake of thinking that it could do the same things for the things that we absolutely need. We started treating healthcare and education and housing like products instead of rights. I hear so much about inflation when it comes to housing. I don't think people realize that because of scarcity, people were able to price their houses crazily during the pandemic. And you're not going to be able to tell people to price their houses accordingly now or to come down. And so rents are higher, or you have these private corporations who are buying up all of the single family homes and then renting them out at a jacked up price. This is what.
This being said, however, housing bubbles happen and they do pop. And I think we're gearing up for a housing and real estate bubble pop soon.
Bubble wrap.
Bubblegum. Remember, I am not a financial analyst, nor a financial advisor, nor an economedian. However, there have been a few market indicators that to me say housing prices are gonna drop steeply. The housing market might pop shortly.
I mean, you're probably not wrong.
And I think a lot of people are going to lose a lot of money that way. And I think people who've taken out second mortgages, refinanced, things like that,
Mm-hmm.
are gonna take a hit. I think they're gonna be, and these private equity companies that have bought up a lot of this real estate are gonna end up taking a hit. I think it's gonna do some damage to the economy, some pretty harsh damage to the economy. However, what it's also I'm not sure what it's going to do as far as a redistribution of land wealth. But I believe there might be a bit of a normalization of land wealth and ownership. And
That's a fairly optimistic way of looking at it, because I look at that and see the prime chance for another consolidation.
I mean, I do too. But I'm hoping that enough of these private equity companies have enough problems that they've got to sell off enough land that while existing homes may not be being bought, new homes might be being built.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that has a lot to do with what... Oh, hi, Jessamy Crystal. That has a lot to do with what the materials costs are going to look like and what labor costs are going to look like.
Mm.
But again, we're not Nostradamus. We don't have a palantir to the future.
No.
We're not Nostradamus, we're Nostradummy.
What happens when we prioritize profit over everything else, or we prioritize consumerism over everything else? There's a lot of boycotts happening right now, and I'm seeing people say things like boycotting doesn't matter. And what I don't think a lot of people realize is getting people to get their toes
Boycotting
wet
does
into
matter.
collective action is good no matter what. It is a fantastic way to get people thinking differently. If people are subconsciously just buying things, and there's a day where we...
You know why boycotting matters? It's not that it matters to the corporations. Them getting the message is a byproduct, and it may or may not happen. The reason boycotts matter is so that we can look at ourselves in the mirror, and so that we can go, I am backing up my beliefs. No matter how small a way I'm doing it, I'm doing it. You know, I'm still boycotting Hobby Lobby and Chick-fil-A because I, in my personal beliefs, do not believe that they are ever going to be good or acceptable companies. I just refuse to give them my business. And that's so that I can look at myself in the mirror at the end of every day and go, I'm still standing up for what I believe in.
And here I thought a boycott was just good for scouts to get rest at night.
I mean, if you're going to have a
But seriously,
boycott, why don't you have a girl cot?
But seriously, I am the same way about Chick-fil-A and Wally World.
Yeah.
I mean,
I would
if you want to
choose.
cut down government handouts, then get rid of all the handouts that are given to Wally World. While most of their employees are on government subsidies, they themselves are the largest takers of government
Right.
subsidies in the United States.
Right. Keep giving subsidies to all the Walmart workers, but take it away from Walmart itself.
Correct.
It's not the small business that it pretends to be.
It doesn't even pretend, and
No.
On
Also,
paper, it pretends.
it tries to pretend. You know, do we still need industrial grade corn subsidies? Could we be subsidizing something that's better for the environment, better for people, and isn't controlled by, you know, three or four manufacturers? Our corn is manufactured, by the way.
Oh, it is. It is.
Right? Like, isn't that a little fun? But, you know, these corn subsidies, giving farmers subsidies is great. Subsidize small farmers, subsidize things that... No, don't subsidize the crops. Subsidize the farmers, the small farmers. Subsidize small businesses. Subsidize... Sorry. I apologize. I'm
you're
getting
not
up on
wrong.
my soapbox. I am giving my campaign speeches.
Subsidizing the people that are doing the work over the
You know,
companies that are not, or the products that aren't, would be a really good thing.
offer a government alternative. That's my big innovation. That, you know, allow some of the big industrial farms to maintain, or the big industrial to maintain buying from smaller farmers, subsidize smaller farmers, but have a government standard i.e., also have a government brand that is at the government standard and maintains a standardized price, keeps things level. Yes, other brands could try to sell a more expensive product if they make it better, or a cheaper product, but
As long as they meet the standard.
as long as they meet the quality standard of the product, but always make a public option available for everything, every product, every service. There's a government public option available. And I believe that some of those services, some of those public option services, need to be offered free because they are rights, not privileges. Basic amount of food, basic amount of housing, basic amount of education, a basic amount of freedom, in the form of a basic amount of income. Universal health care, universal basic income, universal housing, universal food, and universal education.
What about Universal Studios?
Yes. There should be a public option for entertainment. There should be. It's probably going to be government propaganda mostly. It's probably not going to be that good. But it should be there. It should be there just so that people have a way of holding corporations to account. So that corporations don't get to just run rampant over consumers. Happy Saturday, Crystal. That would be what I would, if we are going to continue a capitalist society, then that is the direction I would start building it. That is sort of the core of Vadarian politics, is the government/public option. And it will give school choice. There will be two levels of public education. There will be government public education, and there will be public education. I can't guarantee that government public education won't have a lot of propaganda in it. But public education won't. Public education, higher education, needs to maintain its independence as much as the Federal Reserve needs to maintain its independence. These two things need to be able to operate completely independently from political whim. I'm not saying independent of government oversight, or government involvement. Oversight might be too strong a word. Although there should always be accountability. But that accountability needs to be to the constituency that they serve. And I believe that the Fed takes each of the heads of the Federal Reserves and Jay Powell, they all take their jobs seriously for the benefit of the United States economy. I believe that a sense of honor and duty will carry through the Federal Reserve. I wouldn't trust. I don't entirely trust that to be true for school boards. I believe that people could manage to take advantage of a complete honor system there. But these are just the beginnings of my policies. If you vote me, Emperor.
Vote for TS in 1308.
Beneficent imperial options. That's my platform. Imperial public options. Beneficent imperial public options. That's the platform I'm running on in 1308. Wait a second. Dang it. I already lost. All right, back to the video.
Okay.
When he said 1308, I both heard 1308 as, jokingly, but I also heard 3801. So, like,
Okay.
a couple of 100 years.
We have a boycott and then they don't. Granted, a pause to actually think about, well, I was going to make that purchase, but I don't actually need that item. The pause. We should be seeking out these pauses that cause people to think differently instead of allowing ourselves to be pushed into the idea that everything is a product, so much so that we ignore what's a right instead of a product. And politicians encourage this. Bill Clinton literally rebranded government services as customer service, as if our relationship to public goods should be the same as our relationship to Walmart or Amazon. This shift from citizen to consumer is one of the biggest wins of privatization, because if we're all just customers, then the government owes us nothing. No accountability, no transparency, no guarantees. Somewhere along the line, the American dream went from a stable job, a modest house with a white fence and 2.5 kids to, man, it might not be so bad if I got hit by a bus today so I can afford to live, because we know public systems won't protect us. That's not just broken by accident, that's by design. Public goods equals real freedom. They claim privatization is about freedom, the freedom to choose your school, choose your healthcare, choose your toll road. But what kind of freedom is that when every choice comes with a price tag? What kind of freedom is it when you're one medical bill or one car repair away from bankruptcy? Or when your kid's school is underfunded because your tax dollars are getting funneled into an already well-funded private school? We're told to shop around for schools, for healthcare, for transportation. But public goods aren't products. You can't shop your way into clean water. You can't choose your way out of a crumbling highway system or crumbling infrastructure. That's not how public works. Infrastructure is not just roads and bridges, it's power. And whoever controls the infrastructure controls the future. The market doesn't care about fairness. It doesn't care about access. The second we let corporations control public services, they start dividing them up and actively blocking progress because corporate profits come first.
It has to do with what happens to the money, whether it goes to an account in the Caymans or it goes into Ralphie De La Torre's pocket. It doesn't matter. The money that should be there to take care of these patients is not.
Education, charter schools, and school vouchers create a two-tiered system. Great for those who can afford it, devastating for those who are left behind. Healthcare. Private hospitals decide who gets care versus who gets billed into bankruptcy. Big Pharma lobbied for decades to prevent Medicare from being able to negotiate lower drug prices. Public spaces, parks, highways, even sidewalks get paywalls.
Only open green space.
What matters to post-university people? People who quit first want an online education that works on their schedule, so they can get a degree that can help move their career forward
think about
without having to
post-education?
leave the people that matter most behind. Are you a post person?
No, I'm a Calyx person.
Big ideas.
For General Mills.
Near my house, that's any...
Goya. I'm pretty sure I'm a Goya person because they're the ones, I'm pretty sure they're the ones that make that pozole that I like so much. Green chili chicken pozole, right? Amazing. It is so good, right? Little Bear made it for me when I got to New Mexico. However, she forgot to soak the pozole overnight to soften it.
Ooh.
My my craps sounded like machine gun fire. And I kept going back for more. Like, every day, it didn't matter. I'd come out of the bathroom like, well, now I have room. I can try that again. It was so good.
It just needed to work longer, that's all.
Just, so good.
So bad it was good.
So bad and so good. The flavor, the texture. I mean, even eating it, the texture wasn't bad. You know, it wasn't like... It was just... Fibers didn't all break down.
Sort of grassy, open, and walkable. I'm not allowed to access it. It is a country club.
General versus premium access. On the topic of climate change, fossil fuel companies spend billions of dollars actively fighting against climate legislation so they could keep raking in money. Internet access. Telecom giants fought to ban public broadband, keeping millions of Americans locked into overpriced, slow internet. And the result is stagnation. You have inflated costs and unnecessary suffering. Also, a handful of corporations can maintain dominance. At what point do we admit that the market isn't free? At what point do we admit that it's rigged? When corporations control your water, your transit, your justice system, who really runs your city? Real freedom means not having to make a life or death decision based on your bank account. Real freedom means knowing that public goods, water, education, healthcare are there when you need them because they belong to all of us. The reality is that the free market is always going to create exclusion, and that's why we can't think like customers. If we want public goods, we have to start thinking like citizens again. Inequality isn't an accident, it's a policy. There's this idea that's pushed by people at the top, and some people at the bottom, that inequality is just a natural part of the market. That some people just get rich and some don't. That some people pull themselves up and then some don't. It's just the cost of freedom. Right? The reality is, no. Inequality isn't just some side effect of the economy. It's engineered through deliberate policy decisions, decisions that take money, take wealth from the poorest and hand it to the richest. Trust me when I say, when I first learned about BOP marketing, bottom of the pyramid marketing, my mind was blown. At every single level, there is a system in place to extract wealth from the lowest levels of the economy to the top. That's the reality of the situation. Policy choices funnel wealth from the bottom to the top. Private prison stocks soared after Trump's election because they knew that more arrests would mean more profit. This isn't an industry that just benefits from injustice and blocks progress. It lobbies for it. It networks for injustice because it's literally invested in mass incarceration, harsher sentencing laws, and the criminalization of poverty. These industries don't just benefit from injustice, they create it. The people at the top aren't just protecting their wealth, they're rigging the system to make sure that we can never take it back. Then when people say to me that they trust and believe in President Treelon because they don't take a salary, it immediately tells me a number of things about that person. One, it tells me that this person is monetarily driven and that they see money as the highest value and the only form of currency. That is their ultimate. Or, maybe they just completely ignore the fact that power and control are just as much, if not more, of a salary than any of the financial instruments on the market right now. After a certain amount, money isn't the most important thing. Power and influence is.
And quietly just do whatever we want.
Changing the conversation.
Today's pre-rolls brought to you by the Hidden Leaf, downtown Charlottesville, 105 West Main Street, above the bricks. Suite 200. Great place to go with some great buds to get some great buds, eh, bud?
What do we value?
Style and substance. In the GMC Sierra. Or goods.
We have been trained.
Can we appreciate how well-timed that ad was?
Yeah.
What do we appreciate? Oh, yeah. Style and substance. Dang it. Not funny, guys.
Mm-hmm.
What do we value? Let us take her question very seriously as she goes through this, though, because it is important to think about what we actually value. I value the freedom to do this, to find places like the Hidden Leaf. That's why I am considering the possibility, although I'm not going to vote for those guys because I am not in Charlottesville and can't vote in Charlottesville elections.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean that I can't on my platform say I would vote for them if I could, because I would vote for my own interests, my own values.
Trained to see inequality as a personal failing, not as a system designed to keep certain people on top. We do that with a lot of things. We look at the less fortunate and we think work harder, or, you made bad choices, instead of seeing how public policy pushes them down. They slap fees on EBT cards. They sue people for unpaid ambulance rides. They privatize student loans and trap entire generations in debt. They hire private investigators to kick people off of their VA benefits. And then they turn around and tell us that it's your fault for not working hard enough. We have to change the conversation. We have to shift how we see public goods. They're not a charity, they're a right. Because everyone pays into it. Everyone. We're not divided into the makers and the takers. Right now, we attack the individual instead of the wider system. But the reality is, a functioning society requires public investment.
Okay, I'm struggling. I'm finding the urge not to doom scroll, and just I'm overwhelmed at the idea of even dealing with any of this. Can I have some good news? Do we have any good news?
You know what? That's understandable. Good news is that there are people who are already winning this fight. People are doing it, living it out, right?
Was that a dinosaur print hoodie blanket combo?
Maybe.
investment.
Okay, I'm struggling.
Yeah.
And it's freaking awesome. So many reasons I want to be her when I grow up.
I'm fighting the urge not to doom scroll, and just I'm overwhelmed at the idea of even dealing with any of this. Can I have some good news? Do we have any good news?
You know what? That's understandable. Good news is that there are people who are already winning this fight. People are doing it, living it out right now. Chattanooga, Tennessee fought back against telecommunication giants and built its own public broadband network, and now it's one of the fastest in the country, and it's locally controlled. Felton, California kicked out a private water company and took control of their own water system, lowering prices and improving the service. Atlanta, Georgia stopped the privatization of public transit by organizing a coalition of riders, workers, and community leaders. And it's not just local fights. Big shifts happen too. Medicaid expansion in conservative states, that happened because voters fought back against privatized healthcare and demanded it. Student debt relief, the result of years of organizing against a system that profits off of people just trying to get an education. These aren't top-down government mandates just given to us out of the kindness of some politician's heart. They are citizens demanding control over their public goods, and we need more of that. These conversations can't just happen inside of corporate boardrooms or backroom political deals. The public needs to be in the room. The tedious fights matter not just because they stop privatization in its tracks, but because they force us to rethink what we value. What do you value in your community? What do you want in your community? And when we actually start to think about what we value and what's important to us, the question we should be asking isn't how do we afford it? It's why are we letting billionaires hoard wealth while we pretend that we're broke? Reclaiming the public is entirely possible. Why? Because privatization relies on our complacency. Why else? Because when people see the public option working...
Emergency medicine is an amazing specialty. You can go from 0 to 60 in the space of a second.
They fight to protect it. These companies aren't invincible. They depend on people not paying attention. Also, once the public actually sees a successful alternative, like Chattanooga's broadband, they fight to keep it. As a resident of Chattanooga, I can tell you, I promise you, that if you ask 10 people what they would miss most about Chattanooga, if they had to leave, 7 out of 10 people would give you the same answer, and they would say EPB. It's that good. But it demands that we stop thinking like consumers and we start thinking like citizens. In The Privatization of Everything, the author shed some light on the ways that we can become more civic-minded, and one of the ways that we do that is we understand that the biggest lie of privatization is that we can have nice things without paying for them. That if we just hand over control to corporations, that they'll handle it efficiently. But the public always pays somehow, either in tolls, in debts, in corporate bailouts. Underfunding public goods costs us more in the long run.
Cutting our education budget, that's not a smart choice. That will not help us compete with China.
We have failing roads, we have skyrocketing health bills. That so-called efficiency of privatization, that money doesn't just disappear. It gets rerouted into CEO salaries, into executive bonuses, into stock buybacks. And when those companies fail, they make sure that the public picks up the bill. We always pay. We always pay.
Always.
If we invest in public goods now, we save money later.
Pay.
Invest in education now, we spend less on prisons later. If we prepare for a pandemic now with a few billion, we don't lose trillions shutting down the economy. That's common sense. Privatization can be reversed, but it's only if we see ourselves as citizens with the right to shape our public future. We've seen how privatization often means corporate greed and public sell-offs. In many cases, it's a Trojan horse for wealth extraction. But does every public-private partnership lead to disaster? Or can private funding genuinely support public goods without funding them? While researching for this video, I was actually really happy to find an example of what citizen-minded public-private relationships could look like right in my own backyard, and discovered the Chattanooga 2.0 and the Chattanooga Future Fund that might be able to offer us an answer. Launched in 2015, Chattanooga 2.0 is a cradle-to-career initiative that unites public agencies, private businesses, and early childhood education. One of its key efforts is the Chattanooga Future Fund, which lets local businesses and individuals put money directly into education savings accounts for students, giving them a head start on college and career training. Still, there are important questions to ask. Does Chattanooga 2.0 fill gaps caused by chronic underfunding? Does it risk masking systemic flaws that need public investment? I reached out to the co-director of the Chattanooga Future Fund to get some more information on the program. Luckily, Haley was glad to sit down and chat with me a little bit.
Chattanooga 2.0 is a small nonprofit. We're actually housed under the Chamber of Commerce currently. So we work across sectors from early childhood education, working on kind of literacy there, kindergarten readiness. We have our Viable Pathways program that works on providing our 18 to 24-year-olds with workforce development and opportunities for a thriving career. So we work with a program called Build Within that provides paid apprenticeships. So from there, the Future Fund comes in because it's an actual resource that's tangible to support our kids from cradle to career. So we have these programs that are exposing them to opportunities, but the Future Fund allows them to actually have resources to pursue those. So it's not a barrier. So the Future Fund is a college and career savings account for currently students in kindergarten, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade in Hamilton County Public Schools. So we're starting with a 5-year pilot, and from there assessing the impact, we want to open it up to everyone. We know right now a lot of our students, especially in our lower income schools, they're lacking the resources to pursue education after school. So we want to make sure that we're providing an educational resource. Our community is able to come alongside our kids and provide that. So yeah, it can be used.
I'm sorry, were you saying something?
Oh, just torturing my cat.
Oh, okay.
He was being a pain, so he was picked up and cuddled.
Aha. So this sounds like a pretty good, pretty interesting initiative. This Chattanooga something.
You know?
But it very much seems to be private equity focused at education. It seems to be what they seem to do, what they seem to provide as an organization is the lens that focuses this sort of broad spectrum of money that wants to help to ways to help, down to a spectrum of ways, a visible spectrum of ways to help that then can be can then be beneficial to the community in specific ways without being overpowering to the community's needs. Yes, that's what I meant to say.
For career education, for career prep, for college. So we want to make sure it's a broad range of how they can use it. So we always...
Part of what that was just about was proving that I can still think after having ingested that much THC.
Okay. Say too, because people are like, so where does this come in with the vouchers and whatnot? So that's not at all connected. This is meant to use for post-secondary needs, so after they graduate. And parents always ask, like, what's the catch? Like, you're just offering us money, like free money to put towards my child. I'm like, there's no catch except for them using it after they graduate high school or whatever is going to continue their career. Our focus is our Hamilton County Public School students. It's kind of like a seed of hope for our kids. How people investing in you and just from kindergarten telling you, oh, we really believe that you want to accomplish this dream of being a fill in the blank. So much that we're putting money towards this. And so it's more our community and our city coming alongside our students who we know will largely be making up our workforce in some years. So it's all these organizations saying, this is our city.
Yeah.
These are our kids. We're really investing in these guys.
A lot of public-private investments or partnerships have been criticized for allowing private interests to dictate public priorities. What role do businesses play in this partnership beyond financial support? Do they influence policy, curriculum, or strategic decisions?
That's what's pretty exciting about this program too so it's housed under Chattanooga 2.0, but it's our program, and we've invited people to invest through maybe it's financial literacy classes they're providing our kids or just through financial giving piece. So there's not a whole lot of leeway for there to be a lot of, our CEO, Carrie Randolph, will often say like adult foolishness, she calls it.
Adult
foolishness. So there's not a whole lot of leeway for that to happen here. It's a direct investment to our kids, and we're trying to make sure that the focus stays on that. Kind of cool to see the partners we have because it's a mix of all these public and private, and they can
Adult
discuss how they want to give, but Yeah, there's just kind of two options there.
It seems like it's in the true essence of collaboration.
Yeah.
With people who are actually on the front lines and know what the
Yeah.
community needs versus just, telling everybody what they need.
Yeah, and we try to make sure we're still taking that community input. So we have several different groups that we meet with that are speaking to different areas. So we have like our certain middle school principals that we meet with and hear their thoughts. We have our parent group, we have our donor group that we hear thoughts, but we're like, hey, just so you know, this is for us to build off of what you're sharing and support in that way. Parents go in, take 3 minutes to just activate the student's account. All they need is their birthday, home zip code, and student ID, so we can get that started. After activating the account,
Oh, so you corporate types think you're rock stars?
That's as ridiculous as us being corporate.
we ask a parent if they can to open connect the Tennessee Stars 529. So the 529 is the state's career and college savings account, state of Tennessee. And that stays with the child no matter where they go. So that's their personal way of giving. So if a family...
What's Virginia's? It's like Virginia 329 or something?
529.
Yeah.
Oh, it is 529?
Yep.
Family's like, we want to put in $5 a month, they can put that in. And we partner with the Department of Treasury. So once they activate their account on our end, they're able to see their money from Chat Future Fund and Tennessee Stars in one place. So underneath that is the TIPS program. That's another part of the Tennessee Stars 529, where if there's a family who hits the eligible income, the state will match what they put in 4-to-1. Student puts in $4, the state matches 20 to $1,500. From there, if families put in $5, then we match it again, 25. So they just from the bat just get $150 in their account just from opening it, connecting it to Stars, and then putting $5 in themselves.
As a person who does not have kids myself, I value education. Is there a way that I would be able to invest in the future fund?
Yeah, so we on our site have just a future fund giving.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and that goes to the pot. And so this is also a good segue because we want to make sure we're being transparent and thoughtful of, so no one feels like it's a gotcha. So one of our pieces for making sure families open up their Tennessee Stars, their personal account attached to them, is that any money they put in there is theirs forever. Now, let's say a family moves to Arizona. The money in the Chattanooga Future Fund that businesses have been giving goes back to the pot to be redistributed among Hamilton County students because it's community giving for our Hamilton County students. But the money in their Stars stays with them. We don't touch that. We're making sure to serve every student. So if there's a family who can't sign up for the Tennessee Stars for whatever reason, we're working with Pinnacle Bank to offer an additional option for their personal career and college savings. So families like, I don't feel good about the Tennessee Stars, we can talk and open a Pinnacle account instead where they can use that. If they have any questions, reach out to us. We want this to be a transparent process and families to feel good about where their money is going. Like, we're an open book. We just want to support these kids and love our community. So
by shining a light on Chattanooga 2.0, we're able to see that not all PPPs are inherently harmful. But as citizens,
Wonder if Virginia
we should be
has
asking
something like
every
that.
single time who benefits and whether a partnership strengthens or erodes public control over essential services. The authors argue that we should not be letting the free market limit freedom. Corporations block progress if it hurts their profits. Public goods only stay public when we make sure they're protected from corruption, corporate takeover, and political sabotage. And yeah, that takes work. Public decisions need to stay public. That means, number one, no profit over people. Private prisons shouldn't make money by filling cells. Any public contract has to put the public good first. Two, big picture thinking. Every policy should ask, does this reduce inequality or does it worsen it? Are people of color in the decision-making process or just dealing with the fallout? When we completely ignore things like price gouging, we misplace blame because we're trying to find simplistic answers to complex issues. And number three, full transparency. If corporations receive public funding, they have to open their books. No more hiding behind trade secrets. If the public is paying for it, we get to see where the money goes. And I'm not talking about some random tweets or some made up Excel docs or whatever the hell President Treelon is trying to convince us that they're doing. True transparency starts from start to finish. Make the government visible again. Most people don't realize how much government does for them, and that's not an accident. The less we see or feel public services, the easier it is for politicians and corporations to say, government is the problem. If we never notice the roads we drive on, or the clean air we breathe, or the research that fuels our technology, we assume that the government isn't doing anything, so we don't fight to protect it. Journalist Michael Tomasky says that liberals don't defend the government enough, and when the only voices that are talking about the government label it inefficient, the public starts believing it. In reality, public investment is everywhere. Rely on every single day. Research and tech, the government-funded R&D that led to the internet and many other life-saving medications, clean water and air, regulations keep pollution in check until corporations...
I feel like my campaign and ongoing tirade about how awesome it is to pay taxes I feel like, people don't see. This is why I try not to do sarcasm, because when I say things that on their surface seem like I'm being sarcastic, like taxes are awesome, I mean, I'm being straightforward. I mean, United States, while there are a lot of parts of what goes on with the taxes that are really messed up, and we need to reform large parts of the tax code. The idea of everybody paying for common goods, for there to be an infrastructure that takes care of everybody. And the idea, this is part of why I'm a progressive, is because I believe progressive taxes. The more money you have and the more money you make, the more money you pay. Like, it just should be the more, taxation should be progressive, not regressive, not where the more you make, the bigger break you get. Which is what this latest tax bill is. It is a break at extremely high income rates. It's a very large tax break at extremely high income rates. And a gradual but extremely large increase for everyone below that, but leaning most heavily on those in the lowest bracket.
I believe what I read earlier today, I could be wrong because I was reading quickly, but what I read earlier today, among other things, they were trying, or they're trying to suggest a 74% increase in taxes for anybody that makes $15,000 a year or less.
Yep.
And if you are between $15,000 and $30,000 a year, bumping your taxes up by 54%.
And that's just this year. If you expand it out, it ends up being very, very expensive for those of us who don't make a lot of money.
Isn't technically the poverty line somewhere between 25 and 30,000 a year?
Yes.
This is taxing the poor and giving it to the rich. This is Reaganomics. This is trickle-down economics. This is voodoo economics. I don't know if it's voodoo economics, but it is certainly some magical thinking economics. This is that model that of take money from the poorest and give it to the richest and to industry, because they'll distribute it down. They'll make jobs. They'll pay people. But it's not even giving weight to the second part of that anymore. This is just take money from the poorest and give it to the richest, so that the poorest have less money and the richest have more money.
Yes.
It's upsetting.
lobby to weaken them. The reality is the public invests in things that private corporations would not touch because they cannot eke a profit out of them. And so if we surface the state and show people exactly how public services improve their lives, then the narrative changes. It's not about big government versus small government. It's about, are we prioritizing people or corporations? It's about who holds the power, people or corporations. When we demand high public standards, when we invest in infrastructure, when we keep essential services in public hands, we turn a vicious cycle of privatization and decline into a virtuous cycle of solidarity, investment, and shared prosperity. And honestly, that's like the bare minimum we should be fighting for. Alrighty, friends, it's closing time. I've got one last call. If this video has spoken to you in any way and you can only read one book this year, make it The Privatization of Everything. It's truly eye-opening. Honestly, it completely rewired how I think about citizenship and public goods, and I'd be so curious to know what your thoughts are if we all just kind of dived into these ideas together. Actually, I'm thinking of starting a book club around it. So in 2 weeks, so from the day this video goes up, you have 2 weeks to grab this book, rent it, buy it, trade it, link with friends who own it, and start listening and reading it. And then we'll have a discussion. We'll have a live session or sessions, but I need your input of which format you would be most interested in. Would you rather finish the entire book and then do a single deep dive discussion, or would you prefer weekly check-ins? We read 2 to 3 chapters at a time so that we can just tackle it more gradually. Let me know what your preference is in the comments. Majority rules, and I'll post the updates and the schedule in the community section. But honestly, I can't wait to hear y'all's takes on privatization and your prediction of what's coming next based on everything we have discussed today. Hopefully I was able to help you understand what privatization is and how it's hollowed out the core of the country and how it's taken our third spaces, it's shoved them behind paywalls, it's robbing future generations while sticking a price tag on the future ruins and what it actually looks like at the everyday local level. And so I guess like the next big question is, where do we go from here? For too long, we've been taught to think like consumers instead of citizens. So what happens, when we stop selling out for convenience? We do the labor of creating the inconvenient communities and we come back to each other. What happens when we start thinking like citizens again? Friendly reminder that the culture war games are manufactured and the only war is the class war, baby. I will see y'all in the next one.
All right. So we have made it to the end of the video.
And it's not snowing outside.
No, it's not.
No, it's not snowing outside. How do we feel? Do we feel like we have learned something, friends? I feel like I have learned something both from the first time I watched it and from the rewatch. And I think that if I watch it again, I will absorb more information.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is worth watching at least twice. So, that's my recommendation. Everyone should watch it at least one more time. Really sit with the ideas. I think it helps us have a critical mind moving forward. It gives us some more questions that we want to be asking as we move forward. Yeah. I think we will try and do that other one as a special presentation here before too long. Otherwise, though, it is pretty much at that time. We're just over 2 hours, so I think I feel safe in saying let's call it in here, guys. Unless you have thoughts you wish to bring forward.
No, I'm good.
All right. All right. Well, thank you guys for being here. Thank you, Peanut Gallery. Thank you, Kat. the ASOC Prod. Thank you, everyone at home. Thank you, Just Me Crystal. Thank you very much, Kingsways or Kush Gang. Haha. Remember, Kush Gang. Delicious and delightful. I'll come up with a good tagline for you guys at some point. One that sticks. Purveyors of fine edibles, I do like. Kush Gang, purveyor of fine edibles. Well, all right, friends, stick around for the raid. Now is the time on the show when I say, as they say around here, 2 up, 2 down, VA, double deuces. We're out, y'all.
Son. I'm too ugly to be loved, too ugly to be loved, too ugly to be loved. So ugly, I killed a dove. My face looking like an old glove. Really think of me, then you don't see me, you don't know me. You can't just fuck off. I don't wanna fuck with you, don't wanna fuck with you. You know what you can do, know what you can do, know what you can do. Fuck you, we're not cool. With you, don't wanna fuck with you. You know what you can do, know what you can do, know what you can do. Fuck you, we're not cool.
Having a bit of fun, but genuinely, my bum has never been more closed. So just to show what the actual prize is for the climax of the series, this is what Jack's brought in. It's just a drill, is it? Oh, and the loop and the glass. Yeah. Well, I think it's for real, though. Yeah, it's all, yeah. Oh, very good. It's a very good joke, but no one understood. Oh, no. What was it? It's just a drill. Yeah. No, it is actually... Maybe you and Zoltan should just hang out together with those jokes.